Hi friends, this lesson is all about understanding the speaking questions that are on the Duolingo English test. So just in case you don't know, there are 5 different speaking questions you'll have to answer when you take your own test, and they are these ones. We have read aloud, speak about the photo, read then speak, listen then speak, and then the speaking interview, which comes at the end of the test. Let's start by talking about the essential information of each of these questions. So here are the 5 speaking questions. For the read aloud question, you have to answer it in 20 seconds. You will have this between 3 and 7 times on the test, and it contributes to your comprehension and conversation subscore. Speak about the photo, you have 90 seconds. You only have this once on the test, and it goes towards your conversation and production subscores. Read then speak, 90 seconds, but you only have this once on the test, conversation and production subscores. Listen then speak is similar. You have 90 seconds, 2 times on the test, and this contributes to your conversation and production subscores as well. And the last one is the speaking sample. You have to speak for between 1 and 3 minutes. You have this once on the test, and this question is ungraded, so it will not affect your final score on the test. Okay, now I'm going to talk about each of these questions in more detail, and we'll start with read aloud. The read aloud question looks like this, and your job is to read one sentence aloud. You only have to read one sentence out loud at one time, which is good, and most of them will be statements. However, I have seen a couple questions come up, so pay attention to the punctuation at the end. Does it end in a full stop or does it end in a question mark? You're being assessed on how clearly you can read out a sentence, so using clear pronunciation is so important. Pay attention to the phonemes in the word, that is the individual sounds of each word, the intonation, the stress, and the pace. And read it just once, because you only have 20 seconds. I get quite a lot of questions in my YouTube comments about this question type. The question normally goes something like this: can I read it more than once if I make a mistake? And in my opinion, I don't think you should do that. 20 seconds is really short to read out a sentence like this, so just do it one time. If you make a mistake, just continue on and pay more attention to the next words as you're reading them. You don't really have time to start over again. Following on from that, the timer starts immediately. There is no preparation time here. 20 seconds is really short, but I think you should try to read it in your head before you start reading out loud. And use those punctuation marks to help you. So for example, if a sentence you're reading has a comma, then that's a really good place to pause. Punctuation marks are there to guide you. And it is important to read out the sentence as naturally as possible, so pay close attention to those punctuation marks. And the last one is important. Don't panic if you make a mistake. So those are some guidelines for the read aloud question. Now let's move on to a more difficult one, which is speak about the photo. On the test, you might have a photo like this, or this to speak about. And in my experience, this is the speaking question most students struggle with the most, because it's not often we describe photos in so much detail. But you have to for this test. So let's talk about some guidelines and tips to help you do this well. Okay, some guidelines. You have 90 seconds in total, but you must speak for a minimum of 30 seconds. But I recommend you try to speak for as long as you can. So that tip's really important. If you want to get the highest score for this question type, you should be trying to speak for longer than 30 seconds. If we take a look at the scoring criteria for this question type and all of the other speaking questions, we can zoom in on fluency. And fluency is all about the length of your answer. How much can you speak or write in a limited time? So even though the minimum requirement is 30 seconds, I recommend you try to aim for 60 to 90 seconds. I'm not saying that's easy, but if you want to get the best score, that's what I recommend. Luckily for this question type, you do have some preparation. You have 20 seconds. So you'll see the photo for 20 seconds before you begin speaking. So use those 20 seconds wisely. You can't re-record your answer. So just like the read aloud question, you don't have a chance to re-record your answer. Once you start, you should keep going all the way to the end. So if you make a mistake, do not panic. Just keep going and focusing on doing a better job later on in your answer. But what should you talk about when you're describing a photo? Well, let me give you some tips now. It's important that you don't just label what's in the photo. Don't just say things like, I can see a man, there is a bench, there is a church. Rather, it's much better for you to describe in detail what is happening. When you're describing in detail, you want to use descriptive language. Think of things like action verbs, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions. All of these are descriptive language and they will help you to give a better answer. And my next tip will also help you, which is to learn a structure. I've talked about a structure in many videos in the past. Basically, you want to think about different ways of organizing your answer before you take the test. Learning a structure will give you the confidence to describe any photo easily. And a simple structure could go like this. Step 1, give a general overview of the photo. Step 2, talk about what is happening in the photo. Step 3, talk about where things are located in the photo. And step 4, speculate about what happened or what is going to happen based on the photo. And thinking of a structure like that can be really helpful to give you confidence to answer this question type really well on the test. Now let's take a look at the read then speak and the listen then speak questions together combined because they are quite similar. Again, I'll talk about some guidelines and some tips to help you answer in the best way you can. So for both of the questions, you have 90 seconds to speak in total, but with a minimum of 30 seconds. However, just like in the describe a photo question, it's important that you speak for as long as you can. For the read then speak, you have 20 seconds to read and understand the question. For the listen then speak, you have 20 seconds to listen and understand the questions. And you're able to listen to the question prompt 3 times within those 20 seconds. So for the read then speak question, as you're speaking your answer, you can see the prompt and each of the 3 questions. You don't have to memorize it. However, for the listen then speak question, you're only able to listen to the prompt within the 20 seconds of preparation time. After those 20 seconds is up, you are not able to re-listen to the prompt. So during those 20 seconds, you have to listen and remember the questions well, which of course is quite challenging. But I have some tips, so let's take a look here. It's important that you answer all of the components of the questions. So for the read then speak one, you usually have 3 questions, and it's a good idea to answer each question. Try to speak naturally about the topic. Do not use a memorized answer. That's really important. You are not allowed to use a memorized answer for any of the speaking questions on this test. So it's vital you answer the questions naturally. Do not memorize an answer before the test and use that. This is a test of your natural English, not your ability to memorize things in English. Make sure your answer stays on topic. If your answer goes off topic too much, then Duolingo might think you've used a memorized answer. So keep your answer based on the questions you've got. And use a variety of words and grammar. So using a variety of vocabulary and grammar is on the scoring criteria. It's actually the first 4 points, which shows how important it is. Remember, the Duolingo test is a test of your English, and vocabulary and grammar are of course really essential to having good English. So you want to use topic-related vocabulary based on whatever topic you get given, and a mixture of grammatical structures, some simple and some more complex. I have, of course, made lots of videos on this. You can go through my old YouTube videos to find them. Next up, we have use transition and linking phrases to help your answer become a lot more smooth and natural. I have made lessons on this, go back and check them. And for fluency, try to speak for at least 60 seconds. As I mentioned earlier, fluency is on the scoring criteria, so I highly recommend you aim for between 60 and 90 seconds. I know that's quite a long time, but you need to do that if you want to get the best score for this question type on the test. Lastly, let's take a look at the speaking sample or the interview on the exam. Again, here are some guidelines and tips. So the speaking sample is ungraded. It will not affect your final score. However, the video is sent to the university or institution you're applying to. Even though this question type is ungraded, it's super important you do it well because your university can view your recording. They can see and listen to your answer. So it's really important you make a good impression of yourself by taking this question type seriously and answering to the best of your ability. Your job is to speak for between 1 and 3 minutes about the topic you're given. Again, remember to stay on topic. The next button turns orange after 1 minute. The next button at the bottom of the screen will be grey. It will not turn orange until after 1 minute. After 1 minute, you can click it to go to the next question, which means that you should speak for at least 1 minute continuously, trying to answer the question you've been given. Some tips now: try to use this as an opportunity to show off your personality. So talk about yourself and your ideas and experiences. Let the university you're applying to know how good you are. It's a good opportunity for the university to learn about your language skills, but also your personality. Now you need some speaking practice, and this video here will help you. It will help you to describe a photo well. It goes into that structure I mentioned earlier. So I'll see you there. Bye.